Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome to a very special online event today. It's called Synchronize Your Inner Light with the Vedic Wisdom of the Moon. Harmonize your health, career, and relationships with Ayurveda and Vedic astrology. My name is Stephen Dine. I'm the founder and president of the Shift Network, and I'm always delighted to be exploring subjects that I know a little bit about but want to go much deeper. And that includes the ancient science of Ayurveda and Vedic astrology, which really have thousands of years of proven history and a great deal of sophistication about how we orient ourselves to the larger fields of energy in which we live and grow. And so we're going to get to explore how to do this inner harmonization with those larger forces with a real pioneer in the space. Her name is Laura Plumb. She's an Ayurvedic practitioner, Jyotishi, a meditation and mantra teacher and author, and new to the Shift Network. So Laura, thank you so much for coming here to share today.
Thank you, Stephen. It's really a delight and an honor to be with you. I love the Shift Network. Been following your work for many, many years, and it's just great to be with you guys. Thank you.
Great. Well, we're going to dive in, and I also want to let everyone know up front that we do have a brand new program with Laura that we'll share more about towards the end of the hour. It's called Vedic Wisdom to Ignite Your Inner Light. So more to come if you get sparked by today. So Laura, let's begin our time together with a little bit about your backstory and journey into Ayurveda and Jyotish and just what is the propelled you on this path?
Yes, I promise to be brief, but it does go back. It goes back to being about 8 or 9 or 10 years old and lying on the grass, in a summer night next to my father. And we're looking up at the night sky and he's pointing out different constellations. We're looking at the moon. And we used to love to do that. He would bring out the other kids, it would be after a dinner or an evening or something, maybe even we were at the beach. And it was so magical. And my father was always filling us with such a sense of wonder, such a sense of appreciation for the natural world and for the sky itself. And in those moments, you would just feel so connected. You're under this radiant, starlit sky, right? There's just the stars almost looking back at you as we gaze up at them. And it just makes you feel this tremendous sense of oneness. And I always felt as a child that I wanted to keep that and never lose that, right? So that was one gift. But then later in my teen years and in my 20s, I went through a really, really tough time. I felt very lonely, very isolated. I was falling into kind of a depression. And I was looking for a way to remember that sense of wonder and that sense of oneness. I found yoga. Later, I found Ayurveda. I began a strong meditation practice. And, I remember my mother saying to me, honey, you need to learn to love yourself, right? Why don't you get up every morning and look in the mirror and say, I love you? And that didn't work for me. What worked for me was closing my eyes and going inside and remembering the starry, starry night that I would experience when I was lying on the summer grass, right, with my father. The experience of knowing that everything that I saw in nature that was beautiful, majestic, right, sacred and sumptuous, was also inside of me. That's what Ayurveda teaches us, that you are nature. You are everything as beautiful and bountiful, mighty and majestic, sacred and sumptuous as anything that you've loved or appreciated about nature. And that just sort of burst the doors open. And I just feel like ever since then, I've been living this life of a kind of radiance that you feel when you feel one with all that is. But I also have felt such a strong passion for sharing that with others, to help people remember that you are nature, but you are also the cosmos. You are the energies of the planets, the sun and the moon, and you are the twinkling stars. And if everybody knew that, imagine what kind of a world we would have. So that's sort of my origin story. I just have such a
Yeah.
passion for it. Yeah.
You speak about it so heartfully, and it's really clear that it's like that foundational experience of oneness, and when it suffuses our life, it's such a blessing. So let's talk a little bit about the science of existence that is the sort of the deeper meaning of Jyotish and how it really provides a pathway to make that experience more real.
Right. Which I love. I love that you started there with calling it the science of existence. Jyotish is a word, if you break it down, Jyoti means light, and Ish is sort of the Lord or the governing principle. So Jyotish is about understanding that light governs our world and how we are all each a part of that. You might think of the world as sort of this invisible or visible in some cases, lattice of light. And you are at the crossroads, right, of this lattice of light. Every single one of us. I like to think of Jyotish as giving you a blueprint or a map of your life. If you think about the moment that you were born, there was a pattern of energy, the planets, right? The moon circling around the earth, the planets going around the sun alongside with us, moving against the backdrop of the stars. All of that is a matrix of light, energy, and intelligence. And you are the coming alive of that. That's what Jyotish shows us. It's a genius science that helps us know our karmas so that we can face the challenges of our life and recognize them not as punishment, but as opportunities for awakening, right? It helps us understand our dharma. Why am I here? What is the purpose? It helps us understand our relationships so that we can find love or feel loved, right? It can help us with so many of the issues of our life. And above all, it gives us a perspective. It gives us a perspective where we see ourselves as part of the existence of all, right? So I also like to think of people maybe familiar with yoga. And yoga in its ultimate expression is the path of self-realization. And it helps us understand the nature of reality. Ayurveda helps us understand the reality of nature and that nature within us and how to harmonize with it. And Jyotish helps us understand the nature of existence itself and helps you know that you are that. You are the coming alive of this star-spangled sky, right? And you are here to know that light that you are and to shine it. And it's so beautiful to see people when they even just learn their chart or just learn where their moon is or to learn their birth star, to see the transformations, to see the enlivening, right? To see how something in their heart just wakes up. And then it's like everything just sort of falls into place and their lives become more beautiful, more grace-filled.
I
Just a
really appreciate how you're sort of shifting from like a feeling of like, oh, that there's like influences causing us or propelling us a certain direction, that it's more of like an architecture of light that we are an expression of and born into. And Jyotish is the way we sort of understand that architecture
yeah,
uh, of who we are in a bigger way. That's really quite beautiful.
yeah,
What
beautifully.
is let's talk about the moon and why the moon has a really important role to play in Jyotish and that process of self-understanding.
Right, and that's a really important question because one of the distinctions between Jyotish or Vedic astrology and tropical or Western astrology is that whereas people in Western astrology might say, hey, what's your sun sign? Jyotish is really more focused on your rising sign or your ascendant because that speaks to your physical body, this container of your soul or your Atma, which is your invisible, indivisible, eternal self. And the moon represents the mind. In Jyotish, it represents not just your emotional nature, but your mental and emotional nature. The moon, you might say, guides your mental and emotional tides. It reflects your inner world, your inner life. And it also speaks to how you interpret all of the sensory inputs that you're getting from your five senses. So how you're interpreting the world, how you're responding. You can think of the moon as governing your thinking, your feeling, your responding, your willing, and some of your memory. It also relates to your social connections. So when you cultivate a relationship with Mother Moon, Moon also governs our hormones, sort of speaking Ayurvedically. Moon governs our nourishment. It governs our relationship to abundance and money. It governs our feelings about ourselves. And so it can help with relationships as well. There's so much of our life and our different areas of life that gets, you might say, ignited or activated in better ways, gets improved when we cultivate this beautiful relationship with the moon. And so Jyotish primarily looks at the moon. It wants to know how your mind is, because Jyotish is a sister science to yoga, which again is the path of self-realization. So if we're going to realize nature and we're going to realize existence, we do that through our mind. And Jyotish helps understand each individual sort of relationship or expression of the mind and how it can be. See, the beautiful thing I also love about Jyotish, as opposed to the tropical astrology, is that Jyotish has upayas. And upaya is a Sanskrit word that means remedies. So we never look at somebody's chart and just say, well, here's your chart. Here's what was going on when you were born. That's it. Tough luck. If there's any problems, I'll see you, another time. No, actually, Jyotish is so beautiful because it understands the quality of the mind and it offers these practices and tools that can help a person really cultivate the mind. Because the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your mind. And Jyotish shows you that to yourself. But another thing, just to go even more precise, and this is something we'll talk more about when we talk about the course, is we have something called a birth star. So this is not just what constellation or sign the moon was transiting when you were born, but what actual star the moon was transiting. That becomes your birth star. And there's 27 of these birth stars, plus a 28th Amavasya. And if you know your birth star, you know the radiance of you. There's even a bija mantra for each birth star. So if you knew that bija mantra, then you would be able to sing that mantra every morning and sort of restore yourself to your original settings, you might say, or your original vibration. So it's a way of awakening that light within you and helping to harness the power of the mind so that it's always, just as a moon reflects the light of the sun, so that your mind is always reflecting the light of your heart.
Hmm. I love what you're sharing, and I wonder if you could share a little bit more about this cultivation of relationship and how do you do that, sort of in a very practical way, cultivating a relationship with the moon?
Well, what I love about this too is that it can be very simple. It can be complex, it can be very advanced, but we can start simply. And one of the ways is to simply notice the moon. People will write to me or DM me and they'll say, Laura, how do I know where the moon is at night? And I'll suggest, well, maybe you can go outside and look for it. And that's what's so beautiful, because Jyotish is also sort of an advanced Ayurveda. We can know the 5 elements that Ayurveda speaks of by experiencing nature for ourselves. We can know it through our own 5 senses. And for the most part, we can also experience Jyotish through our own 5 senses. We can go out at night and see the moon or see the planets, see where the moon is rising. What time is the moon rising? Is it close to the sun? Is it on the other side of the sky from the sun? Is it rising as the sun goes down, right? Or is it rising in the middle of the night? Is it a crescent moon, a quarter moon, a full moon, a half moon, right? Is it waxing or is it waning? Even just paying attention to the moon is going to really shift your energies, because we are mostly made up of water and we know the moon governs the waters. Moon governs the tides. But one of the reasons that farmers have traditionally they plant their seeds at a new moon, is because as the moon waxes, the moon pulls the water to the surface. That's why surfers know that as the moon is waxing and the closer they get to the full moon, they know those waves are going to be bigger because the moon is pulling, right, the waters up. And she does that in the land too. So pulling the waters up means those seeds can sprout and they can be ready to start to blossom and bloom with that full moon. You are the same. You've got 70 to 80% of your body is made up of water. And so we are very affected by the moon. We know that many people can't sleep when there's a full moon. We know that crime is up when there's a full moon, right? And to know that your energy will be waxing as the moon waxes, to know that your energy might be waning as the moon's energy wanes. Just those things can make quite a difference in terms of how you plan your life, right? What sort of events you show up for. Do you want to go out as the moon is really, really near dark? I've heard it from a lot of people. They'll say to me, oh, I've been so exhausted these past 3 days. And when I notice that from many, many people saying that, well, look, it's been a new moon, and that might be why. So there's really some simple practical things. There's more as well that we'll cover in the course. But the simplest thing someone can do is just follow the moon, become a moon gazer, a moon lover. And maybe if the moon is out, if you can see it, if there aren't clouds, go out under that moonlight and let yourself bathe in that moonlight. You might inhale the light, inhale it maybe into your heart or into your mind. And then as you exhale, just let that moonlight flow like a river throughout your whole body.
Hmm.
Inhale, you exhale, do that 10 times. The number 10 relates to the moon. And if you can do that at least a few nights a week, it'll help improve sleep, right? It should help improve digestion. It can help reduce stress, right? And it can just help give you a greater serenity and stability.
Hmm. Well, it's good wisdom for navigating the monthly cycle of the moon. I wonder if you want to share anything about, like, as the moon is transiting through some of the backdrop of stars and birth stars, whether there's also things that you want to do to synchronize with those larger cycles.
Right. There's 2 cycles that we look at. One is the stars that the moon is passing, and those stars are called nakshatras. But there's also the tithis, and tithis means each day that the moon waxes is a different tithi, and each day that it wanes, right? So there's these 30 different tithis, it's called Tithi. And so we can, again, but it's about noticing. It's about noticing on a new moon or day 1 that our energy might be low. That might be a day where you really want to plan to have more rest, not try to do too many things that require a lot of energy. And you want to make sure that your food is very nourishing, but also easy to digest, right? And then plan your events when the moon is really fully waxing, right? So it's things like that. We'll go much more into it in the course. And it really, again, is so sort of exciting and mind-blowing almost to learn about these things.
Hmm. Wonder if you give an example to be specific around somebody how the working with the moon might be connected to treating a disease or dealing with a particular obstacle in their life, and how then that transformed.
Right. So the very first and most important thing that we say in Ayurveda is you are nature, right? And if you understand that you are nature, then you understand that nature is full of energies. In Ayurveda, we talk about the 5 energies, but if we now add in the sun, the moon, and the planets through Jyotish, we are seeking to harmonize with these energies. And any lack of harmony, any disharmony, can ultimately lead to disease, right? So this is about, and this course will really cover this, learning to really work in harmony, to weave a sort of harmony, not to just to find balance. Because when I think of balance, we say that word a lot in Ayurveda, but when I think of balance, I think of a seesaw. And if you're really in balance, you're both kind of hanging with your feet off the ground, right? That doesn't feel very stable. Ayurveda is really about weaving together these 5 elements, more like a song, right? And we talk about the universe, a word that means one song, right? So we're trying to weave ourselves back into the one song. And once we understand better the sun and the moon energies, we understand how to live with the sun energies, which is working with night and day, getting up with the sun, going down with the sun, and not trying to, really get a project done at midnight, as so many of us do, right? Because that also is disharmony with those natural rhythms. And that disharmony eventually, not right away, but eventually that disharmony accumulates and can spill over into not just imbalances, but disease. With the moon, you'll see it can be hormonal dysregulation. And so younger women may be finding that they have more painful cramps, PMS, and periods are difficult. Even older women, women going through menopause, may be finding that there's issues with menopause. They might be feeling those heat flashes. Again, working with the moon is very soothing, very cooling. And these things can build up. The moon can help us with our neurological system, with our brain and our mind, right? The moon can help us with psychological issues because ultimately she represents our mental and emotional wellness. And so working with the moon can help to clear the emotional debris, the blocks that keep us stuck, afraid, but also she can help reduce anxiety. I've seen people working with the moon to increase fertility, to become pregnant, right? I mean, I've helped people work with the moon for joint issues, just so many things. Because think about it, the moon is reflecting the light of the sun. And so the moon within us is reflecting the light of consciousness. The sun is the light of consciousness. And consciousness is your healer. When the moon is regulated, cultivated, strengthened, right, then we're properly reflecting the light of the healer within. And so she brings overall good healing, strong healing, but overall contentment, right, peace, serenity, more love, more money, more creativity, right, all the things that most of us really would like.
Well, it's beautifully described, and I wonder if you could go a little bit deeper into the relationship between the sun and the moon in Jyotish, and how, like, because we often, I think, we're a very solar identified culture in the West, probably, and that sort of like, how does that interplay play out with Jyotish?
Right, it's a beautiful question, because also Jyotish is sometimes called a lunar system, where we're looking at the relationship each and every day, each and every moment between the sun and the moon. The moon is the closest celestial body to us, and so therefore it has the greatest impact upon us. The sun is said to represent the light of consciousness, and it's said that all of us have that sun within us. That's the sun light of the heart, right? Moon represents the mind. And so it's interesting how Jyotish has a deep and profound and complex and sophisticated understanding of the relationship between sun and moon. Sun is on a northern and then a southern arc in any 1 year period, right? From the winter solstice to the summer solstice and then back again. And so the sun doesn't feel like it's moving much, but it does have a movement, right? That's why the days are shorter in the winter and the days are longer in the summer. But the one we can really see moving more often, much more frequently, the moon does a complete cycle around the earth every month. And that, of course, being the moon. And so therefore the sun and the moon, from our vantage point, are in this interesting relationship. Every day, the moon changes its relationship with the sun, moving about 12 degrees further apart, right, as she waxes, and then moving 12 degrees each day closer to the sun. And each one of those 12 degrees is about a day. And that's, again, what I was referring to as the Tithi. And all of the festivals of India, pretty much all of the festivals of India, which, there's many, many festivals all the time, they're all relating to this relationship of the moon and the sun. And then, of course, they're adding in which nakshatra is the moon playing against. And why is that? Because they're able to understand what are the most auspicious days, right? What are the days where, nope, might be better to stay home today. And that understanding is life-changing, right? And again, it really helps you plan your life, and it helps you plan your life for better success, better harmony, better health, right? And just sort of you become like an attractor magnet, right? Because you are reflecting that light. And above all, I think the thing I love most about this is it helps weave you back into the all so that you have this sense of belonging that I think we all long for. So you feel that you belong. You know that you are alive on purpose. You feel that integration with all of life itself, right? And that's that song that now is singing through you. And how can that not be anything but an attractor magnet?
Beautifully shared. Well, I know you want to take us on a deeper journey to really
Yeah.
connect with the energy of our heart and how we can hold this a deeper relationship with the moon in a way that really improves a lot of aspects of our life. So why don't you introduce the practice you're going to guide, and then we can do that.
Great. Okay. So this is a practice that we're going to do, which is a guided visualization. And I'm going to ask all of you to close your eyes and just take a deep breath. And with your eyes closed, just imagine that you could breathe all the way into your feet, inhaling and exhaling. You might even imagine on your next in-breath that you're breathing in the energy of Mother Earth. And that breath of Mother Earth on the in-breath comes all the way up to your heart. On your out-breath, you're expressing, you're expelling, you're exhaling that breath up through the crown of your head to the sky above. So first we're breathing in Mother Earth energy up the feet, legs, belly to the heart, and then exhaling from the heart through the crown of the head and sending that exhale to the center of the sky above you. Now we're going to add a piece. The next inhale, breathe the sky into your belly and exhale from the belly through your feet to Mother Earth. We're just grounding here now, breathing heaven and earth together through you, breathing the earth up to your heart, exhaling it to the sky above, inhaling the sky to your belly, and exhaling through your feet to Mother Earth. Okay, and then I want to invite you to visualize with your feet grounded in the earth. You're going to imagine that your head is in the sky, that there's stars, there's a moon, there's planets. It's a night sky, twinkling, starry, beautiful sky. And I want to invite you to imagine the moon comes and sits right in the middle of your brain. You might say between the back of your head and your eyebrow center or your forehead. There is the moon right there in the middle of your head. Pearly white moon. And we're going to create this crown of planets. So let's imagine now that you're putting on a crown, right? And it's anchored by that moon that's right in the middle of your head. And then, of course, there's going to be jewels on this crown. So we're going to take the planet Mercury, whose color is emerald, and we're going to bring a bright emerald stone right to the front of the crown, right where your forehead is, right where the crown sits on your forehead. Big, beautiful, bright emerald. And then let's take the planet Venus. She's a diamond. So let's bring that diamond just to the left of this beautiful emerald. Beautiful diamond, still at the front part of the crown, just to the left of that beautiful emerald. And now we want a yellow sapphire, bright, clear, sparkly yellow sapphire representing Jupiter, planet of wisdom, expansion, and spiritual growth, comes in and settles to the right of that emerald, the front center of your crown. So we have Jupiter's Jupiter's gem, yellow sapphire. We have Mercury's gem, Mercury for discernment, for problem solving, for analysis, for language. And we've got Venus and her diamond, could even be a little bit of a pink diamond, for love, harmony, relationships, art, and creativity. Then we're going to put Saturn and his planet, the blue sapphire, at the side, maybe above your ear. Mars is a red, sort of a bloodstone, to the left, above your left ear. Now, let's take the moon, and you could take an opal or a pearl and bring the moon to the back of the crown. So there's a beautiful moon gem of the moon. There's a beautiful pearl or opal at the back of this crown. Take a moment to just see these gems, to see their sparkle, and to see if there's somewhere else where these gems would like to sit on this crown. Maybe they feel more comfortable. This one moving back, that one moving forward. Let's take a moment. And then start to see them sending their light in to the center of your mind, all connecting there, where we're now going to see a beautiful ruby. Ruby for the sun. So we have the moon at the back, ruby for the sun in the center. We have emerald in the front center. We have yellow sapphire for Jupiter to the right, diamond for Venus to the left, blue sapphire to the right, above the right ear, and then something like a bloodstone, a thick, dense, reddish, orangey colored stone for Mars above the left ear. And all of that light intermingling as they reflect the light of the sun in the center of this crown. Imagine that this is your mind, this is your brain, that you are one with the cosmos. And then imagine that that ruby drops slowly from the center of your mind down to your heart, pulling these strings or lines of color down with it. So the color of the planets, the color of the stones, the precious gemstones of the planets that have been shining their light, not just outward, but inward to the sun in the center of that crown. Now, as the sun drops to your heart, it brings those lights, those lines of color down with it into your heart. And take a moment, you might even put one hand on top of the other onto your heart center to know that this sun is the light of you, the indwelling healer and consciousness. It's your truth and your essence. And as it shines its light, it shines up to illuminate all the aspects of your mind that give you the capacity to reflect, to connect, to love, to be loved, to have courage, to have energy and passion, to have discipline, strength and endurance, to have clarity, to see things clearly, to know which way to go, to know right from wrong, to know the yeses and the nos, and above all, to know your true nature, your divinity, your own wisdom, and your own dharma. So just feeling all of those precious gems, all of those planets with you, bringing all of that color now in towards the moon and letting the moon stay, reflecting the light of all those planets. The moon can stay where she is, the back of your head, projecting to the middle of your brain and then to the forebrain, and then also reflecting the light of the sun. Breathing now, inhaling to the light at your heart, to the sun there, and exhaling that light to the moon. Inhaling to the golden light of the heart, and exhaling that light of the heart to the moon in your mind. Just a couple more of those breaths to really anchor this in. To know that you are, all of these planets relate to some aspect of your brain function, but all of it is illuminated by the sun of the heart, the light within. So just acknowledging that light, looking in to that light at your heart, asking right now if there's anything that light of you wants you to know. What do you want me to know in this moment? And when you're done bowing into that, I'd like to just invite you one last time to stand as if you wear a crown, to sit up, lift your head back up, and hold yourself as if you wear a crown. And remember that you do, that this crown of planets is within you. It's your birthright, and you are the coming alive of that. Thank you.
Thank you. That was really beautiful. So often we're thinking of the planets in very cosmic terms, and making that crown of planets inside, it makes it very personal, like your own little wisdom council inside.
Yeah, I love that. I think of the planets as the council, right? Jupiter is the spiritual advisor, Venus is the ambassador, right? They all have something to say, and we want to learn through Jyotish how to unite them so that we have a singular voice, and remembering that the sun is the king. So ultimately, the sun is the governor. The truth of who you are should lead. The others can offer advice.
I love that. It's a whole different framing of things. I know that Ayurveda also works a lot with gemstones. So how does this work into like health plans and remedies to sort of improve your system? You're sort of literally working with the gemstone that's associated with each planet to remedy it?
Do you know what's so amazing, and this is something that I've really loved exploring recently, is that each gem is the color that it is and the structure that it is because of the elements that make it up. And so when you wear a gemstone, for instance, I've got Mercury's emerald I wear, that is carrying those elements that help us internally cultivate what that planet represents. So as an example, for instance, we might wear emerald, and we wear it on each one on a certain finger, on which right or left hand. But each one is said to help bring in or cultivate that planet's gifts. So Mercury brings us clarity, discernment, analysis, problem solving, communication, teaching, speaking, right? Sort of a planet that relates very much to Buddha or to Saraswati. So you're bringing in those energies. And so, yes, Ayurveda does work with gem therapy as well, but really in a way you could say that comes from Jyotish, because each gem is bringing in the light of that planet and the elements here on Earth that cultivate those qualities within. And if you really look at your chart very specifically, there may be a planet that is a planet that signifies illness for you, or lack of money for you, or relationship issues for you. And you want to make sure that you're not wearing that gem, because it's just going to make things worse, right? And I've seen that. I've worked with people. I talked to somebody recently who was wearing a certain gem. And I said, can I just look at your chart really quickly? And he said, well, my guru gave it to me. I can't, I'd have to wear this gem. And so I said, well, let me just look at your chart. I promise, we love your guru. I promise to be respectful. And I looked at his chart, and I could see that that planet, like all of his problems were related to that one planet. And he's wearing the gem, and it's quite a big sized gem. So that would just increase its potency. And I said, would you mind going back to your guru and just asking if you could just explain the issue? Maybe he'd give you permission to just take it off for a little while. And sure enough, the guru, of course, being all loving, let him take it off, and his life immediately got better. So it's important to know which gem to wear. We don't want to just put on any gem. And we don't want to just say, well, I like Mercury because Laura said it's this, or I like Jupiter because he's, represents abundance and all good things. Even a planet like Jupiter can be a cause of trouble in our life. So it's very important to look at this and to speak to somebody who really knows what they're doing in that area.
It strikes me as such an important point. There's not like good or bad planets as much as there are different influences that are beneficial for different purposes.
There is neither good nor bad, but thinking makes it so, dear Horatio. It's, as Shakespeare wrote, it's actually every planet is going to have karmas and dharmas for you. And we are here, as Sri Aurobindo said, to creatively and consciously participate in the creative evolution of consciousness itself. And once we know that, then we can look at the planets and say, it's not bad. It's not a troublemaker. This is the planet that's giving you the karmas that will help you awaken, evolve, and grow.
Hmm.
And again, once we realize that's the purpose of our life, then we are on board, I think, for that. And
Mhm.
it means our problems are no longer overwhelming us or saying to us that something wrong with us, but they're opportunities. And I know that some people going through hard times may not see it that way, but they are opportunities for growth. And so all the planets they are bouncing light, right? And they
Mhm.
all represent light in their own way. They are also said to be devas, right? The sun represents the transcendent consciousness, and the planets are said to be themselves devas. They're these intermediary beings of light that only want to get to the earth to bring their light here. And you might even say, a servant or a vehicle for that planet to bring its light through. Again, it's about cultivating a relationship with these planets, not thinking of them as just masses of certain elements, in these sort of cold, faraway things, but that really you want to develop a relationship with the planet that's strongest in your chart, most beneficial, because it will support you and it will maybe just ask for you to support it in return. But what a joyful way to live.
Mhm. Truly, what a joyful way to live. I feel like it would be good to also understand a little bit more about like how this perspective on Jyotish then works with Ayurveda to really sort of sculpt a different set of habits and patterns in your life so that you're optimizing your planetary influences, the light that you are into the specific form of your body and life.
Yeah. I love that question. And that's something that I've been working on and working in this arena for a good 20, 25 years. I love the integration of all of the Vedic wisdom and Vedic sciences because basically I feel like, you're like a wheel, right? That word wheel, which gives us whole and wealth and health. And you're seeking to really recognize what's at the hub of that wheel. And then the spokes is all the areas of our life. So I think there's three ways to speak about this relationship with Ayurveda and Jyotish and how it helps us know the hub as well as to keep those spokes strong so that overall we have a wheel that's really helping us roll through life, magnificently and effectively. So Ayurveda is an understanding that you are nature, and it helps teach you how to harmonize with nature for better health or for recovery from ill health and imbalances. Jyotish is basically an expanded version of that into a more invisible or subtle realm where we're understanding that you are the coming alive of this matrix of planets of light, energy, and intelligence. And so Jyotish helps you understand how to live in harmony with that wider world, with the cosmos itself. And that's one way it works with Ayurveda. Another way it works with Ayurveda is that through Jyotish, we can really fine tune, we can really get a deeper and more precise understanding of your Prakriti. And Prakriti is your mind, body, constitution. So Jyotish will show you by looking at a number of things, the first house, relationships to the first house, your ascendant, your rising sign, important planets, etc. It'll help you understand not just that you may be a Vata, a Pitta, or a Kapha, but you might be a Mercury influenced Vata or a Saturn influenced Vata. You end up having these planetary body types as well. You might be a Pitta who's more Sun or more Mars, and those are different forms of Pitta. So it refines your understanding of your dosha and your mind body constitution. Jyotish also helps by looking at certain houses of the chart. Certain houses are disease bearing houses. So you can look at someone famous like Prince Charles who got cancer, King Charles or Princess Kate, right? You can see what's going on in their chart. You can see the length and duration of that. And so once upon a time, Ayurvedis would always consult a Jyotishi to see what is a person going through, what are the planetary transits, what are the certain planetary periods of their life. Is this going to pass quickly? Is this something that's here for a little while? And what are the sort of psychic or karmic underlying, you might say, influences? So that maybe food and herbs will help, but maybe it'll also really help to do some mantras or some certain pujas to help with the karmic underlay. And then the third way that they relate is that the remedies of Jyotish are often either in yoga or in Ayurveda. So, for instance, remedies for a difficult planet, there are certain mantras, oftentimes mantras that are 4 lines or sometimes even 108 lines, might even give somebody the Hanuman Chalisa to learn to chant, right? Which is, mantras are basically come to us from the yoga tradition. We may talk about eating certain foods in a certain way, right? So we also in Jyotish borrow from Ayurveda, especially if you're, a more, I would say, advanced or integrated Jyotishi. You can not, many of my teachers are medical doctors, right? The medical doctors in India working in surgery in Delhi or working in places like that. And they're able to both through Jyotish see the underlying cause perhaps that's affecting a person. So that's Ayurveda in terms of prognosis, but we also borrow from Ayurveda in terms of diagnosis and protocols.
We talked a little bit more about health and spiritual practice. How do you sort of work with the lunar influences in the realm of career and relationship?
Yeah, I love that. So again, the moon represents nurturance. The moon represents mother. She represents nourishment. And so she represents food, right? She's the cause of plants sprouting. And so she represents food, nourishment, and all the things that nourish us, including money, which is a form of nourishment, including relationships, which are a form of nourishment. In the brain, I think of Mercury as representing the left brain and moon representing the right brain. So right brain is our social, emotional nature, our creativity, etc. And moon also represents our, I said this earlier, but it represents our hormonal balance. So you could do things like on a Monday, that would be a good day to honor the moon by fasting. Or on a Monday, you might try to eat foods that are more moon-like in nature. That would be white, creamy foods that might even favor the salty taste. You might bring in some rice with a little bit of dulse or seaweeds, things like that. It could even be fish if you like that, foods from the ocean. On a Monday might be a really beautiful day to do moon salutations in the evening. Go out and bathe under the moonlight if you can see the moon. Do some moon mantras, right? Especially on Mondays. If you're somebody who needs to cultivate more cooling, if you're somebody who runs really hot, you have more of a pitta in Ayurveda, the pitta dosha nature, then it would be good to really cultivate these moon practices every evening, right? Cultivating the moon through basking in the moon, even just going to a window and looking out the window at the moon, calling on the moon's name through mantras, and we call them planetary name mantras, right? Thinking about the foods that you're eating and how, skin, something we're going to really talk a lot about in the course. We have a whole module on foods, right? And moon foods and how to really cultivate the ojas, right? The underlying strength, reserves, contentment, patience, juiciness of your body to get your glow on right through these moon foods. So there's many, many ways, but as I said, the simplest way is to recognize the moon, see where she is, and see if you can cultivate your own relationship. Go out at night and say, hi, mama. Hello, Mother Moon. I like to do that. And then I'll look at her for a little while and I'll say, do you have anything you want me to know? Just ask her, is there anything you want me to know? And just stay long enough, receive that light until you feel either you get an answer or you simply get a sense of peace, because that's an answer too. And then it's
That's
time
its
for
own
bed.
kind of answer. Well, Laura, you really just are a fountain of great wisdom on how we can integrate these deep ancient traditions in our lives. So I'm excited to have the opportunity to go deeper with you in upcoming programs. I think now would be a good time to talk about that. So Laura's agreed to teach a brand new program for Shift. It's called Vedic Wisdom to Ignite Your Inner Light. Synergize Ayurveda with lunar cycles for healing and renewal of mind, body, and spirit. So really take some of the foundational teachings that you hear today and goes much deeper and creates them into a practice and that's more tailored to you. And so you can find this program in detail at the URL vedicwisdomofthemoon.com, vedicwisdomofthemoon.com. It's a 7-week program. There are no prerequisites, so you don't have to have any expertise in these areas, since Laura's really going to teach you the foundational perspectives that are necessary to apply this work in your life. So, Laura, I'd love for you to share in your own words about the outcomes and intentions you have for this program, and then I'll read out the module titles so you can give us a preview of what's coming.
I have a really clear and really, I would say, passionate intention. I would like everybody to know that you are a star. I want you to know that the moon is reflecting the light of you. I want everybody to be able to feel that in their bones, in their cells, in every breath. And so that you can really rise in that radiance and that would affect every area of your life. I would hope that by the end of this course, you have enough knowledge, enough practical tools that you can live this, you can become one with this light, and you can bring that light everywhere you go, and that light will infuse all the areas of your life, your health, your relationships, your abundance, your work, your creativity, so that you really feel that you are like this wheel of light, this crown of planets that you wear. You walk through life with that dignity, that majesty. I really, really want to see people feel that and know that about themselves, and to know it with the steps that you're going to get. Each module, you will have practical steps, practical rituals that you can begin right away to weave into your daily life. All of them easy, all of them super accessible, right? But potent, right? And very juicy.
Module 1, Foundations of Vedic Wisdom. Harness the power of the sun and the spectrum of light for vibrancy and vitality.
Right. Well, we start at the very, very beginning with what is the center of our universe and the center of you. We start with the sun. Sun dwells, it's that indwelling light of the heart, and it is the light of consciousness of you. And that light is the healer. So we will be bringing in the Ayurveda, how the sun relates to your wellness, your health, certain practices that you can do to cultivate that light, to know that you are that light, and to really root into that light. We're going to be bringing in some beautiful science that relates not only of the sunlight, not only relates to the light of the world, but that really relates it to us. We'll be talking about the spectrum of light, rays of light, how that relates to the different planets, but also to the different days of the week, right? So we'll be starting right at the beginning. We'll also be offering some Vedic mythology that helps. I always feel like stories are a great way to learn. And there's some beautiful stories about the sun that will help really embed, I hope, this understanding of how the sun and you can cultivate a better, more fruitful relationship.
Module 2, Identify your birth star to understand your strengths, challenges, and your soul's evolutionary path.
Right. So everyone has a unique birth star. There's 27 of these birth stars, plus a 28th sort of bonus star. And when you know what your birth star is, you're knowing truly that specific light of you. Each birth star has characteristics, qualities, energies. It even has its own sound vibration. To know that is to know the vibratory signature of you. You know, the ancient ones would tell us that everything in existence is built upon vibration, right? There's an underlying vibratory structure to the universe. To know your vibratory signature is to really sing your way back into the oneness with the all. It's very, very empowering to know your birth star. So I'm very excited to share that one with everyone.
Module 3, Balance the sun's fire with the moon's cooling energy to align your life with the rhythms of nature.
Right. So as we spoke earlier, there's always, through Jyotish, we're always looking at the relationship between the sun and the moon. The sun is the light, the one light that gets up every day and gives us not only light, but the life-giving power. And then the moon is that which reflects the light, right? And within us, we have the sun, we say, at the heart, and the moon is the mind, hopefully reflecting the light within. In Ayurveda, that relates to the cooling energies of any substance in nature versus the heating energies of any substance in nature. To know which one of those is best for you. Are you a person who tends to run hot? And does that change throughout the day, or does that change throughout the seasons? Are you a person who tends to run cool? And what is the nature of that? When do you notice that most often? And what are the things you can do to balance that? How can you bring in more heat through your foods, your spices, the way you cook, the way you think, the way you feel? You know, walking out into nature, what are the practices that you can do? How can you work with the sun and the moon to find that balance so that you have greater comfort, ease, but also if you have too much heat, that can relate to inflammation, that can relate to accidents, that can relate to irritation and even anger and outbursts, right? If you have too much cooling, right, what happens at night? The body cools itself down. That's why often we fall asleep maybe on a sofa, but once we're asleep, we wake up because we now need a blanket because the body cools as it's sleeping, right? But you don't want to cool too much or you're too immobile, right? So we need for circulation, we need for proper digestion and metabolism, we need some more of that heat energy, that sun energy. So it's all about finding that balance, that harmony, and we'll be covering that in that class.
Module 4, Harmonize your rasa, inner waters, to allow the nourishing flow of life energy to support your overall well-being.
This time we're going to focus really specifically on the moon. Where's the moon? You'll in your chart, you'll get to know that. We'll have some tools to help you find that out for yourself. And what does the moon relate to in terms of your health, right? We've already mentioned that it relates to hormones. It relates to your mental, emotional nature. So it relates to your psychology. It relates to optimal brain health. And actually the moon relates to, of course, menstrual cycles. It relates to menopause. Ultimately, if you can strengthen that inner moon, you strengthen your inner glow. You have more comfort in your body, in your joints, right? You have more stability, contentment, patience. It helps you with relationships, friendships, and even with nourishing. You become a more perhaps nourishing energy, and then that attracts more nourishment through relationships into your life, whether you're looking for love or you're in a relationship and you're seeking deeper connection through that love. We will cultivate the moon to help us overall, right, feel just so serene and juicy in our bodies and in our lives.
Module 5, experience food as medicine as you fuel your body with the luminous energies of the sun and moon.
So I'm really excited about this. We're going to learn about the Ayurveda concept of the six tastes, which is six different categories of food, and understanding that each of these categories nourishes or ignites digestion, metabolism, or helps to purify. We'll understand which one of these categories would be best for you, so which foods to favor and which to maybe do less of. We're also going to understand how the planets relate to these different categories of food. You might think of the six categories of food or the six tastes as reflecting the seven rays of light. So we'll talk about how we fit seven into six, and to understand that as plants eat the sunlight, when we eat plants, we are, thanks to the plants themselves, we are getting a secondary, you might say, metabolized form of sunlight. So learning how to choose foods to grow your inner light, whether you're growing your inner sunlight so you can shine, or you're growing that inner moonlight so you can truly glow. This is going to be a fun class, and we have a beautiful booklet of foods and recipes to go with it.
Module 6, harness the energies of specific tithis, days of the moon, for optimal health, spiritual growth, and harmony.
Right. So earlier I was talking about how these tithis are an understanding of the relationship from the sun to the moon. And each day the moon is either waxing or it's waning. Each day the moon is growing. It's a different shape every single day. And each one of those aspects of the moon gives a different sort of an energy. Some days are more auspicious. Some days are more auspicious for certain things like spirituality, or mundane things like business, or for getting married, or for starting something, or for being more creative. And some days are just overall less auspicious. And so this is going to be a beautiful class that's going to help people understand your tithi, the tithi that was where the moon was when you were born. And that'll also help you understand a little bit more about your own divine nature. And you'll be able to better understand which of these days, waxing and waning, are best for you, to help you really plan your life, and also to help you learn about how to pay attention, to notice these energies in your life, and to work with those energies.
And finally, Module 7, grounding practices for subtle body healing and spiritual well-being.
In the seventh module, we're going to bring it all home. We're going to bring it all together, and we're going to work on really understanding how this all works together, how Ayurveda and Jyotish, the 5 elements and the 7 planets, plus the sun, the moon, how these are all within you, and what are the best practices to take it forward. I'm hoping too, through this course, we're going to really cultivate connection, community, a really beautiful sense of belonging one to the other. And hopefully in the last class, we'll be able to really seal that in so that everybody finishes the class just full of life, full of joy, full of love, and full of, sort of the light, you might say, that we're seeking to cultivate through this course.
Mm. Well, what a beautiful offering, and it's such a great way to access this ancient wisdom lineage and really apply it in really precise ways in our lives and experience benefits. So share a little bit more about it. Again, the whole program is laid out in detail at vedicwisdomofthemoon.com. It is, as we said, a 7-week program. Each one, you're going to have a 90-minute session with Laura, which include time to do exercise and practices together, ask questions directly. You'll also get recordings of every session, both video and audio, as well as word-for-word transcripts to work with and highlight. There's weekly exercise for home. There's a Facebook community to deepen your connections and support your community around this work. And there's also a number of extra bonuses of PDF guides that help deepen key teachings in this program. And you'll see those on the page as well. There's a PDF guide from Laura called Vedic Wisdom to Ignite Your Inner Light, How to Read Your Jyotish Chart. Want to share a little bit about that guide?
Yeah, so that is a beautiful PDF, a booklet that's going to help you understand how to read the chart, because the Jyotish charts are laid out in a different way. It's a mapping of the sky that might look unfamiliar to many. How to identify your rising sign or your ascendant, how to understand that as that which helps you know better your Prakriti, your Ayurvedic sort of dosha or mind body constitution. You'll be able to identify where your moon is in the chart, and also some of the more significant planets as well as houses. So it'll just give you a basic foundational understanding of your particular chart, which in the course we'll go over in finer detail.
Very cool. There's also a whole PDF guide from Laura called the Moon Recipe Guide Booklet, helping you to synchronize your diet and food with the moons. And there's a special bonus that's available only for folks who sign up today by midnight. This is our way to encourage you to really take the time now to go to the page, read through, tune in with your own knowing. And if you get the sense to move forward, you'll get a special present for doing so. It's called Autumn Meals, Ayurvedic 7-Day Meal Plan with Recipes Booklet. Do you want to share a little bit more about that, Laura?
It's a pretty comprehensive booklet. As I said, I've been writing food recipes, Ayurvedically inspired recipes, since about 2010. And I have a book, as you know, Ayurvedic Cooking for Beginners. And so I have been also putting together seasonal cleanses and what I prefer to refer to as Ayurvedic resets for each season. And so this is basically built off of that. You'll get a 7-day meal plan. You can kind of cut and paste or pick from this, or move it around and choose as you like. And each of those meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner, for 7 days throughout the week, also comes with recipes and beautiful photographs. And the whole booklet starts with just a general idea of Ayurveda and how we work with food and how we work with the seasons, and then some more specifics about autumn, what dosha autumn is, what autumn tends to do to us physically and to the body, and therefore the kinds of foods that we want to be looking for to help with some nourishment, help to keep us strong as we go into later autumn, when we see a tendency for people to get colds, respiratory illnesses, and imbalances. So it's a beautiful booklet to help you really stay strong for this coming season.
What a super practical and juicy and delicious offering that book is. So again, that's Autumn Meals. That's the ebook from Laura, and your special bonus if you sign up today. So we've kept the program very accessible for you in terms of investment. It's just 3 payments of $128, so you save 10% when you pay in full with one payment of $349. The courses can begin October 16th and run Wednesdays at 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern. But even if you can't make the live times, you can still get the full value with recordings and transcripts in the community as well. And I also encourage you to read through some of the testimonials on the page. Laura has an amazing gift in communicating wisdom, helped guided me from darkness to light. Of course, changed my life and my health. Laura is the universe's best, most treasured spiritual counselor. Love that one. Great testimonials from people who have worked with Laura to really harmonize their lives with the ancient wisdom of Ayurveda and Jyotish. So you are in good hands, and you will really be initiated into important wisdom lineage if you choose to go forward. So again, it's all at VedicWisdomOfTheMoon.com, VedicWisdomOfTheMoon.com, and you'll get the special Autumn Meals bonus when you sign up by midnight tonight. So Laura, we're at the end of our time. Really joyful to be with you. Thank you for illuminating this science of light. And anything else that's still on your heart you want to share with folks who are considering doing the full program with you?
Well, I just would like to say it's something I've been studying for over 35 years. But just because I study it and I have a passion for it doesn't mean that I'm any sort of enlightened sage. I'm a human being. I study this because it's helped me so much. And what I love about sharing it is the connections that we make, one to the other. That's what I love so much about this. I've really designed this course as a sort of accumulation of everything that I've been learning, everything that I've been passionate, everything that I've seen work for myself and for others. And so I just really want to invite people to join us. It's going to be juicy, it's going to be fun, it's going to be practical, and I really believe it's going to be eye-opening and mind-blasting and hopefully life-altering. Yeah.
I'm sure it will be. So thank you so much, Laura, for your wisdom today. Thank you all for joining. And if you'd like to go further into Laura's brand new program, Vedic Wisdom to Ignite Your Inner Light, you can do so at VedicWisdomOfTheMoon.com, and you'll get the special Autumn Meals bonus if you sign up today. So thank you so much. Many blessings.